hate, she said. I listened to a friend express about the part of Christmas that she hated. And I was waiting to hear some great big catastrophe or something like that. And she said, you know, the part of Christmas I hate, returns. I said, returns, you know, I basically get gift cards now. I don't even think people did that anymore. She said, well, they do it, and I've got something I've got to take back, and I'm regretting having to take it back to the store and have to wait in that long line and the big crowds and all of those things and be, you know, caught up in all of that. That's the part of Christmas that I hate. I said, well, I'm really sorry that somebody got something you didn't like or got the wrong size. She said, it wasn't anything anybody else got me, it's something I got myself. I said, okay. So what happened is I took it home and I waited until Christmas morning to take it out. And when I took it out, I noticed that the security tag was still on the outfit. And I was going to have to take it back in order for them to take it off. So I said, you know, so in fact, I don't want to wait till that long line and all of those things to get caught up in the crowd. And so my idea, my thought was, if you just see it in a different light. So finally she says she goes ahead and she goes back to the store, and when she walks in the store, the security tag that should have gone off when she left the store went off as she entered the store, and no less than 6 people came rushing to her assistance. And she said that in seconds they had the security tag off and I was back out the door. She said because as I was making my way there, I began to see it differently. I heard what you said, to see it differently, and decided that something good was going to come of this. And so rather than me getting caught up in the long lines and the rush and everything else, I was going to see it differently. And sure enough, no lines, no waiting. Within a few seconds, 6 people came rushing up to me, and they got it off, and I was on my merry way. As I thought about that, I thought about this month, how we have been talking about embracing the darkness, welcoming the light. And how when we find ourselves in situations and circumstances in life where it seems like there's darkness, that one of the first things that we do, and when I say embrace it, I don't mean get stuck in it, don't muddle in it, or anything like that, but know that in that moment and at that moment, that's what it is. It's darkness. It's maybe not what we would like to have. It's maybe not what we would want to experience. But know in that moment that is where we are. As Byron Katie talks to us about accepting what is, as we learn how to accept what is in that moment, when we do that, it helps us to orient ourselves so we can begin to see where it is we need to go and where it is we need to be. We can, in other words, embrace the darkness and welcome the light. Now, I know that there's some people in the New Thought Ancient Wisdom teaching that don't agree with what I'm about to say. But I will say this, and you know, you all can debate with me later. But I do know from my own experience, and I'll put it that way, is that there are times when we get caught up in what's going on with other people. And you know, and so sometimes things that happen, things we find ourselves in, things that go on, sometimes are not completely of our own creation, of our own doing, but because we live in an interactive world and universe, we sometimes get caught up in what's going on with somebody else, and we are part in that. And so as we do that, again, the idea is, as we find that happening to us, we have to learn how to stay centered and stay in the moment and understand that something good is going to come out of this. There's a woman years ago that was named Peace Pilgrim who made it a part of her journey to walk across the United States in the name of peace. And she tells the story of how she was out in the Pacific Northwest and she was walking late in one evening, getting ready to head to another town, when a sheriff's deputy in his patrol car stopped her. He asked her where she was going, and she tried to explain her mission to him and everything. He said, yeah, you know, you peaceniks and all of that, you know, whatever it is, everything, you're not going anywhere tonight, you're going to spend the night here. And she tried to protest, but he actually took her, put her in jail. When she got to jail, She was in the same cell as a woman who had just barely turned 18, who was very frightened. Her hair was matted. She was just, really out of her element, and Peace Pilgrim could tell. And so she spent the night talking with this young lady and working with this young lady, helping this young lady to really, center herself and to get to where it is that she needed to be. And the next morning, when they changed shifts and the new deputy came on duty, he looked in the cell and he saw Peace Pilgrim, because she always wore this tunic with peace signs and everything on it. He said, "Hey, I know you, I've read about you. What are you doing in here? You don't need to be in here." And so he opened the cell to let her out. And she said, "Well, before I leave, this young woman needs attending to. She needs something to brush her hair with. She needs to have better meals." And so she outlined all of the things, and he was, "Yes, I believe in what you're doing and everything. Yes, we will take care of that. Her case is coming up, her trial is coming up. We will do all of that." And then as Peace Pilgrim began on her journey again, she bid the young lady goodbye. She began on her journey again. And she said that as she was walking away, because she was wondering, why did I get thrown in jail? I didn't do anything to be thrown in jail. I was on my mission. I was just doing what I normally do. And then she realized that in the conversation with the young lady said how she had prayed that somebody would come along to help. And she realized that in that moment, that she had been that young lady's answer to her prayer. So sometimes things happen and we don't completely understand right then and there, but because we live in an interactive universe, because we live in that, things can happen for us that ultimately we may be the answer to somebody else's prayer, or we may be caught up in some other things that are going on that we don't completely know about them. But when we can center ourselves in such a way to be the light, to stay focused, to stay centered on what it is. Ernest Holmes says that there is a power in the universe for good, and it is greater than you, and you can use it. The power in the universe for good that is greater for you, greater than you, and you can use it. When we learn that, when we embrace that, when we practice that, when we don't get caught up in appearances, when we don't spend our days just constantly downgrading what's happening and downgrading people and talking about those things. But when we do, as the affirmation and the thing that I read earlier, wake up in the morning with something like "Good morning, genius," and realize that there's a genius in us, that there's something working in us, a power that is available to us, no matter what the situations or circumstances. When we realize that, and not just pay lip service to it, but when we ultimately begin to apply it in our lives, we do change our lives. We do change our thinking. We do change our circumstances. And it becomes important to do that. Dr. Johnny Coleman, who just made her transition this week, and some of you may be familiar with her. She was the founding minister of Christ Universal Temple in Chicago, and Christ Universal Temple, or CUT as people like to call it, basically was probably the first mega church, new thought mega church. They had somewhere at one time over 23,000 members. And Johnny Coleman, she has something that she said all the time that I really like, and I remember sometimes she says, "It works if you work it. It works if you work it. It works if you work it. It works if you work it." In other words, when these teachings, these wonderful teachings that we have, when we apply them, they work if we work it. So I'm going to issue you a 7-day challenge. Look at how Vanessa looked at me like, whoa. What you talking about? A 7-day challenge. And that is, I want you, and you may do it any way in which you decide to do it, either get a small notebook that you can fit in your pocket. You may want to do it on your phone or anything else. how you do it. But every hour that you are awake this week, once every hour, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on how well you are living your purpose and your practice. Are you, number one would be you were caught up in stinking thinking, as they say. You were caught up in, gossiping and all of that kind of stuff. And 10 is where you're completely focused. You were saying to yourself not only good morning, genius, but good day, genius, that you are walking, knowing that you live, move, and have your being in spirit. But every day, 7 days, rate yourself every hour in those 7 days that you are awake. How well are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And then next Sunday, add up your score, and I'll tell you what it means when you get back here. And if you're not here, email me or text me and I'll tell you what it means. But it's a reminder, because we have to be reminded to stay in all of this. I have been reading, once again, there's a book that's called Your Aladdin's Lamp by William Hornaday. William Hornaday was Ernest Holmes' right-hand man. And one of the things that fascinates me about that book is how he chronicles not so much his association with Ernest Holmes. Ernest Holmes is all through the book, but about people that he worked with that used the power of affirmative prayer to completely turn their lives. Sharing with him a story about a woman in the book, and this was way back in the 40s when this happened, who was one of the black members of the church that William Hornaday had been a part of. And, back in the 40s, that was something, having integrated churches wasn't something you completely heard about. And there were some people that were complaining about the fact that they were going to the church and all of these people of color were showing up. And Ernest Holmes himself showed up and said, I hear some people complaining because there are people of color that are here, but you have to remember we're all one, and who we are. But anyway, is one. But anyway, this woman started out dancing and was having a fabulous career as a dancer. And then one night while she was on stage, they heard some noise from above, and before they knew it, one of the stage lights had fallen and struck her, and she was paralyzed. Dance career seemingly over. And she, for months, didn't want to have anything to do with nothing, with God, with affirmations, with affirmative prayer, with the spiritual mind treatment, none of that. Just completely just at a loss, just devastated. But as she got back to herself, and she embraced the darkness, began to welcome the light, and began to do the work. It works if you work it. She started to get some ideas on what she could do. She remembered hearing about another man who had been a dancer who no longer could dance either because of injury, and how he fashioned some shoes and he put them on his fingers, and he could use the fingers, and he would use that to work out steps for choreography. And so she said, well, if he can do something like that, I can do something like that. And she started designing these fabulous costumes and everything in her head, then started getting fabric and able to, get some small movement in her hands. And as she continued to do that, she continued to go on. And ultimately, she got more movement in her body. And when they told her she would never walk again, she was able to walk. She wasn't able to dance again, but she was able to move around and get around and became an inspiration to other people. She said she first would go into those wards where there were people trying to recover from what was happening and explain to them about, spiritual mind treatment and the power of the universe and all of that. And people looked at her like she was crazy. But when she just started to say things like, you can do it, and you have something in you that is powerful, and all of that, people responded. And ultimately, she and her husband went on to have success with a facility where people could come and live there, no matter what their background or circumstances. But there's stories like that all through that, and it kept reminding me that when we learn how to be the light, when this is more than just something that we say nice words and platitudes about, but if we apply the principles, if we apply the teaching, if we apply what's in us, if we apply the genius of who we are, if we apply it all, if we put it into practice, and sometimes it may not appear right away, but if we keep on keeping on, if we work it, if we work it, if we work it, if we work it, work it, it will happen. I told you about Open Heart and my dream for us to be a place of success stories. So as we move into this new year, whatever your level of success that you're looking for, this is the time. This is the opportunity. It works if you work it. It works if you work it. It works if you work it. So it is.
So it is.
This time of year, I always choose December, starting with the first week, to look back to January, the things that were going on in my life, and where I am today. And this one started off just a little bit rough. But after I sat and thought about where I am today, a smile came on my face. And one thing that I always do is talk to my ancestors when I need help. And for some reason, without me thinking about it, good things happen. So I have to always equate the ancestry with the right now. And old people used to say, if I need you, Lord, I need you right now. And in that, I think in my mind, this song called Memories of the Way We Were. Looking into hopes of tomorrow, knowing that only positive things will happen to us. Could it be, oh, so simple? Or has time rewritten every line? And could it be just the thought that it is? It's such a wonderful memory, a wonderful beginning, a magnificent ending for life that possesses a purpose, a meaningful purpose. It was by no accident that you were born. It was by divine creation that all of us are here in this present time. Let us all be aware that yesterday has passed and gone. But in your mind, the vision of right now exists. Let us all appreciate all the wonderful joys, the people that were in our lives who has already made their transition. They came and did what they were supposed to do. They are our spiritual guides. They are our hope for the days to come and to stop and think about how many blessings I have received through unconsciously knowing I have been blessed. It puts a smile on my face just to know that I am. The I am in me can create anything in life that my vision encourages me to pursue. Life is wonderful. Life is beautiful. And most of all, life is loving. And it's loving when you share, when you care. And when you look into the mirror and see yourself and say, self, I'm beautiful. And self, I am beautiful. Self, I love you. And hey, you, I love you too. We gave so much to one another, but we also gave something to ourselves. And I thank the creators of my life for acknowledging the fact that I took time out of my life as a child to connect with the entities that I knew nothing of in my time of distress. And it opened the door into a more spiritual world than what I would have ever known. And every time I need help, I ask and it's given. In this community of Open Heart, there's so many beautiful people with a different thought process. But everyone in here is a success in their own way. Because when you open your heart, love flows in. And when you open your heart, I touch you. I love all of you. And I'm so grateful that someone told me open heart. Thank you.
Indeed.
We're to our announcement period. Remind you of the opportunity for your peace crystal blessing